Hey, it's a Thursday, and it is the mango. No, it is not. It is Dominic D'Angelo of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and OneTrueSportTV.com. Now, we're back, baby. It's me and Robert Karpelis, WD Creative_ish. Robert, how are you, man? Happy Thursday. Good to see you again.
I was all pumped to be back here, and then you're talking about mangoes, and I'm just like, what the hell are we doing here? Why do you randomly have a mango sitting next to you? You have two? It's like a magic trick.
Look at that.
We're already off the rails. I've been back for 12 seconds, and this is where we're at. But we are happy to be back here today. Welcome back, Dom. I know you were away for a couple of days. I had stuff going on my end. A little bit of an unexpected delay across the board here, but we are both here. We're back. First and foremost, most importantly, how is Glengarry Glen Ross?
Amazing. Just fantastic. There's just so much to take away from it. Kieran Culkin can control a whole stage, and just his presence and his ability to the little subtleties that he brings was fantastic. Bill Burr nailed it out of the park. A role written for him 40 years ago, it felt like, and Bob Odenkirk was just fantastic too. Overall, a really, really great play. I did a little video too, showing what wrestling can learn from such a play like that, and keeping things simple, keeping the characters focused, lots of different stuff going on. So really fun aspect of that. You can check that out on OneTrueSportTV.com, by the way, that video.
I will definitely go check that out. Look, I think Mamet is one of my 3 or 4 favorite writers of all time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Most of my favorite film writers, Steve Harris, slightly problematic. Mamet being one of them. Was always a big Woody Allen guy. That's always going to be a little bit of controversy. My A1, thankfully, is still fairly Teflon, which is Aaron Sorkin. But it is that very dialogue-driven. Mamet is very simple with dialogue. It is what's going to advance the story forward. We're going to say it as simply and more as humanistically as possible. Not humanely. Man uses a lot of profanity that we can't use here on this show. But it's a lot of fun to see. And when an actor gets a chance to do something with Mamet work, they can really make a meal out of those words. And Dom, speaking of meals, since I am here in the kitchen, are you ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. It arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any activity or busy lifestyle. With over 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on their menu each week, it's easy to pick the meals tailored to your goals. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. You can eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast. Use code FactorPodcast and get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Factor Podcast. That's code Factor Podcast. Factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. We're back,
Robert.
Love it. Love being back.
There's a lot to catch up on too. You weren't here for Raw.
I was not here for Raw. You know what I'm going to do?
Look
it reminded me. Got a little Factor smoothie situation going on right here. This is the pineapple turmeric basil cold press juice. I'm going to continue to enjoy. I started drinking this earlier today. While we talk, whatever you want to talk, Dom.
Let's start. Well, all right. I just want to get your overall thoughts about Raw real quick before we talk about the Dynamite that happened last night. But obviously, down the street from me, Madison Square Garden it was, and big cage match. We had a big return with Roman Reigns. What overall did you think of that show?
Look, you had one Culkin, Raw had 2. Paulie and Rory were there in attendance. Rory not getting the lower third Chiron. That was a little much.
Yeah.
Felt bad for him. It's funny. I talked about that with Scott Chapman on Working Stiff, which should be up now, assuming Dom checked his email.
It's there. It's in my email.
Oh, it's in. Damn it, Tom. Yes. So they gave so many different people on Raw those lower third Chirons. Nothing for Rory Culkin. Rory Culkin apparently in one of the Scream movies, which I didn't know, but I know talented actor, terrifying looking individual. Raw accomplished a couple of great things, couple of baffling things. first and foremost, it looks like we're getting 2 separate triple threat matches going on at WrestleMania. I liked the Io Sky situation where it was the, hey, I'm here too. I'm the champion. I matter, which is a problem they seem to be having with Gunther, who doesn't seem to matter as much these days. But I think that triple threat match is going to be a lot of fun. I think the setup for it, where Rhea wants to get her shot at Bianca. Bianca has issue with Rhea. Io is the champion. She's sort of the third wheel here, but really has a chance to steal that show. And then in the main event, the situation where Paul Heyman is the crux for why there is going to be this this 3-way dance. The idea that Roman has his issues with Seth Rollins, obviously, and then he has issue with Punk because he did cost Punk that match. And then like a jealous boyfriend seeing your gal talking to her ex, he sees Heyman consoling CM Punk, and he's like, and they get involved there. Look, there have been dumber reasons to have matches. Spilled coffee, shampoo commercials, fighting over Paul Heyman makes some sense. And these are 3 guys who, in another world, in another scenario, would have been challenging for a world title here.
How do you overall feel though about big 3-way matches happening on WrestleMania? It's just,
even with 2 nights of the show, we know this new TKO world, this new PLE world. Yes, WrestleMania is a 4-hour spectacular 2 nights in a row, or 5-hour spectacular, whatever it is. A lot of commercial breaks, a lot of ads you got to cram in there, a lot of video packages. So you only really have maybe room for 5 or 6 matches a night.
right.
And if you would have just done Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, then it's, well, what are you doing with CM Punk? And how do you make whatever his matches feel important?
Mm-hmm.
If you take, Seth Rollins out of the equation, what does Seth have going on for him? It's a way to get 3 huge main event stars in a big time match with a number of emotional stories, with the fallout from what we saw at War Games last year, the favor that we know that Paul Heyman owes CM Punk, the fact that Punk and Seth have been having their feud. It's a lot of fun across the board.
Yeah, so my idea was you could have Roman take out Seth, and boom, Seth is off the WrestleMania card in visual. But then ultimately, you have him kind of be, The Rock's been doing the 3-finger thing. He had 2. The rumor is there a third man? Seth could be that third man where you turn him heel. He costs Cody the championship, and you have a full-time guy that's there. That's a surrogate, another surrogate for The Rock. You also have Cena obviously turning heel, but I think there's that aspect that you could incorporate Seth, still make him feel like a WrestleMania component, and not have a 3-way where I think just a Roman Punk straight up is an engaging match in itself. I think you could have a lot of fun with.
Yes, then they'd be Rock and Rollins.
That's it, right?
There it is, writes itself.
It does. Here's a question from Wrestling Old Head too, Robert. Want to get your perspective. What do you guys think of Punk's favor being that he asked Paul Heyman to accompany him to the ring at Mania for old time's sakes, putting Reigns at a disadvantage? You think that's a good favor to ask him?
I mean, no, just because there's no stakes associated with that, other than I'm going to get in Roman's head, and Roman's not going to be able to focus. But I don't think that has big enough implications. I think it's a nice little jab. It's a nice little poke at Roman, but I don't think it's enough to pay off this favor.
Yeah, I kind of with you. It's a good idea, Wrestling Old Head, but
I'm also scared of the worst booking decision. Maybe if you have Paul out there, and whose side is he on, and then he ultimately picked Seth. That would be the worst. That would be the dumbest booking decision possible. So I'm putting it out there in the hopes that it doesn't happen.
Yes.
Like grab your magic 8-ball, flip your coin into the well, whatever it's going to take to not let this end with Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins.
Yes. Hey, we had an ending at AEW Revolution that ended a little bit iffy when it comes to the Death Riders, Cope, all that stuff. And now we got the follow-up a little bit on Dynamite. Robert, real quick, a big takeaway from Revolution. I heard great things, didn't watch it, but saw some highlights, made me scratch my head a little bit, heard great action, other stuff. But overall, what do you think?
So again, not to be a whore for myself or anything, but Scott and I did a Patreon for Working Stiff. We broke down all of AEW Revolution, every match, every moment, every odd beat. Yeah, the biggest thing was, I think for the people who love a lot of what that had to offer, it was a great show. To me, too much blood, which I'm not a person who's opposed to blood being in a match, but when you have it in multiple matches, it loses its impact.
Yeah.
The Hollywood ending match that I know some people went absolutely nuts for, I've never been a death match guy. I'm not a glass guy.
No, neither.
Glass, like I love Die Hard, the stuff with the glass, I can't. It's off-putting to me. I remember being at WWE and having to clean up some of the audio issues, so we ran the Taipei death match, where they dipped their taped fists into the glass and beat the hell out of one another. It's not my personal thing. I know people love it. I know people love death matches. All power to you. I think it was a well-worked match for Tony Storm, Mariah May. I think Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher told a good story, but everybody bleeding in that one. Again, it just was like lots and lots of blood. And then that main event was a series of disasters where you had at least two significant hardcore matches on this show. I'd say that steel cage match had a lot of brutality. Obviously, the Tony Storm Mariah May match, which should have main evented,
Yes.
was far more violent. So when you have the old men out there using chairs less effectively and using a lot of rest holds and dragging this thing out to a half-hour non-epic match, like the highlight of that match was the crowd singing along to Cope's theme song.
Yeah.
Not because they love Cope, but because they loved Edge. And this was a cool opportunity to sing, Edge's theme song. So the Christian interference and then the triple threat and the cop-out ending, the Cope-out ending, bizarre beyond belief. You know what? I would go so far as to say it stinks.
Ooh.
And speaking of stink, it's time to talk about our friends at Mando. You know what? I'm sorry. I was reading something here, and then I realized I was reading something I wasn't supposed to be reading. It was a highlight thing at the top because it's a new copy. It's here. Mando, not a new sponsor, a great sponsor who's been here for a long time. And the reason is it's a whole body deodorant. It's safe to use anywhere on your body. And I was at a wrestling show on Sunday in Boca Raton Championship Wrestling. And being around some of the hell of a crowd, some of them folks could have used some Mando. You can use this all over your body. You can use it on your armpits, your thighs, your belly button, your butt crack, your feet, your undercarriage, if you will. Because we're not saying balls here. This is a classy show, and I'm not talking about balls. But you could and probably should use it on your balls. This is created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal body odor was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. This is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. This is idiot proof, guys. Some of the laziest wrestling fans out there use this once you're covered for 3 days. Mando deodorant and products are a solid stick deodorant and a spray deodorant, so you don't really have any excuses. All its products are baking soda free and paraben free, and it is proven to control odor better than just a shower with soap alone. This is a simple part of your day, and Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. If you're hearing this and you can smell yourself and you're going, I could use this, now's the time to do so, because this comes with a solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choosing, like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes. And you also get free shipping. I don't know what's going on with me. Suddenly can't talk today. These things happen. But as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack just by using code RUMOR at shopmando.com. That is shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence with head to toe from Mando.
Oh, yeah.
And thankfully, not a disturbing lower third graphic for that here.
Not yet.
What was disturbing was this week's episode of Dynamite.
Oh, all right.
So I had a thought while watching this, and I, again, recorded with Scott Chaplin. It's still in Dom's inbox, so it right now has an audience of 1, but it will be up later. The thought that I had during this show was, did a freak snowstorm hit California between Sunday and today? And is that why 90% of their crew was not there?
They were missing quite a bit of folks.
Baffling. Absolutely baffling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Swerve Strickland, a notable absentee. And then we also had Hurt Syndicate showed up in a video package, but that was it, or a backstage video segment, but that was it. Nothing
Well, it
else.
was a lot of folks who were at the pay-per-view on Sunday and clearly just did not want to show up for work on Wednesday.
Yes.
First and foremost was the lack of using Swerve in person. And I think one of the big takeaways from the Revolution pay-per-view was in the Swerve Ricochet match, that crowd anointed Swerve. He felt like a huge deal. He felt like a main event star. Crowd was chanting his name, becomes the number one contender. For as much of a debacle as that main event match was, the post-match where Swerve jumped down and laid out Moxley, that was a fire segment, as the kids would say. I would have put Swerve in front of that live crowd.
Yeah.
Continue that momentum, get you excited. Instead, not only was it a video that we saw of him, a good friend and a talented wrestling journalist named Dominic D'Angelo had asked Tony Khan, "Hey, Tony, do you do production meetings?" And he's like, "Well, kind of, yeah." No. Had they done a single production meeting and everybody sat in the same room at the same time, they would have looked at this run sheet and it would have said, there's a graphic that we're showing for AEW Dynasty, revealing that it's going to be Swerve versus Moxley. Maybe we shouldn't air that right before a promo where someone's asking Swerve, "Hey, when are you challenging for the title?"
My goodness.
Nothing makes you look dumber than that.
Yeah, that's not good. And also there's the fact too that Cope still has a match against Mox next week, I think it is.
It's next week. They're getting it out of the way. So Moxley cuts this promo about what happened at Revolution, and he puts over the grit of Cope. He puts over how tough he was, how we underestimated him. And then is like, you have all these excuses, so I'm going to do a rematch with you in a street fight where there are no excuses, which is a pure babyface move.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't think I earned that win against you? I'm going to fight you again, and I'm going to take away all the rules, all the excuses, and I'm going to beat you again. And we know he's going to beat him again. And then Jay White, bless his heart, cuts that promo of what I did on Sunday was completely unintentional. And now that there's going to be a no disqualification match, I'm sure anything I do in that match won't cost Cope that match.
No.
And we won't get this match, this Jay White Cope match at Dynasty. I'm sure everything will be just fine.
Oh, absolutely.
Judgment Day is just fine, Dom. Bullet Club is just fine. Dynamite, just fine.
Was the Hurt Syndicate just fine? What did you think of the interaction between MVP and MJF? Two guys you know very well.
They acknowledged that during the promo. The very first thought I had so backtrack a moment.
Okay.
They showed that video of Max from the end of the pay-per-view in his dressing room, looking at himself in the mirror with this like, "You're a fraud, get out." No, that was not Mammoth-esque.
No.
That was something out of a Tony Storm vignette. This was a Betty Davis promo, if I ever saw one. And while Max may have some Betty Davis eyes, this was significantly lacking in intelligence to do that segment. But the cocky Max promo and then MVP calling him on his stuff. But when he came out, I was like, oh man, I remember sitting with those two many, many years ago in beautiful, quote unquote, beautiful Orlando, Florida, with a wrestling promotion that we do not name on this show.
I don't know what that is.
And then when MVP, whom I love, was like, we work for some small South Florida promotion that didn't even remotely compare to what we're doing right now. Some rinky-dink, pathetic little entity run by a man who is as equally rinky-dink as that entity itself. I'm just reading between the lines what MVP is saying, paraphrasing, not my own thoughts, his thoughts, not Dom's thoughts, MVP's thoughts. And I sat with those two gentlemen in the lobby of the Clarion Hotel in Orlando, listening to Max talk about all the things that he's looking and hoping to do. And the fact that they reference that here on this promo, thing of beauty.
I was hoping for a name drop for you.
No, Max knows better than to do that to me. MVP knows better than to do that.
What if they dropped Rumor and Innuendo?
That would have been fine. They could promote, unlike you, who hides the ball that you do this show, because you never bring it up to Van Dam. You don't bring it up to the legendary appointment man himself, Greg Gagne.
I did bring it up on that show.
Well, clearly I was listening and loved it. And Magnum, who maybe he's going to start doing some DDTP yoga, climb out of the wheelchair, and we'll get one more Magnum TA match. But yeah, look, I like this. There's a little bit of intrigue. It's one of the few things that happen on this show where something actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kenny Omega coming out and cutting the promo that he should cut when he wins the world title. I never thought I was even going to be back, but not only am I back, I won the prestigious, just like Orlando's beautiful, international title. Easily the 35th most important title in all of wrestling.
If that.
30. I don't know if the 24/7 title still
give or take.
Put it at 30. Let's put it at 30. The GRCW, cruiserweight title.
Yeah.
The GCW. Which GRCW? I made up the initials. GCW cruiserweight title. And then he's hyping this tournament. So of course you're thinking, oh, we're immediately going to go to the first match of the tournament. But no, we get the ops. We get the opposite of what we were going to get. They tease that Shibata is going to be in the tournament, but not tonight.
No.
Which is fine. Promote your future. Give you a reason to tune into other programming. I don't hate it, but it is clear that this entire tournament's just going to be a reason for Ricochet to win, and we'll get Ricochet Kenny Omega, and I will never complain about that.
I ain't complaining about that either, and especially the follow-up promo that Ricochet did. He's so good in this role. Like he feels like a fun, annoying like pro athlete is what he feels like, and I think that's a great lane to be in right now for him. He added and. What a good compliment that will be to somebody like a different character like Kenny Omega, I think, too. What did you think of the debut of Speedball Mike Bailey against Beast Mortos?
It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most confusing things is, so Beast Mortos essentially is, what if Rhino and Mantar had a very disturbing baby?
Yes.
And if you have a bull, or you know anything about the anatomy of a bull, the hardest part of a bull is it's going to be its head.
Okay, I thought you were going somewhere else, but
I don't know where you thought I was going. I don't want to know where I thought that was going. But the fact that Mike Bailey beat him with a kick to the head as opposed to some big high spot, odd decision.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not the choice I would have made, but Mike Bailey looked good. Beast Mortos is a guy that I keep hearing from Scott. He's like, oh, he's amazing on Collision. Same thing with Hologram. He was amazing on Collision. Then I saw him on Dynamite, and they put Harley Cameron with him because they found something that was hot and over and decided, let's Jericho it. Let's kill it by hitching it to something that is just floundering. Hologram, again, he is, of all the people that they have wearing a mask on that show, he's one of them.
Yep.
And he's dressed like a parking cone. And then you have Harley Cameron out there, who is a much bigger star, more interesting than pretty much anything going on. And she was just
under
there to exist. My prediction for that is this is literally an S.A. Rios Lita situation.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
she will absolutely eclipse the Hologram.
No doubt about it. I will say, make a note of Beast Mortos. He is great, like in the ring. And
what I keep hearing.
I think too, just what he got Mike Bailey over, like just his selling form and everything like that. I like him a lot. It's just, it's a head scratcher. I see Brian Cage on there doing amazing stuff too. And like they did protect him in a way on the show, but it's just like, you have these great elements, make use of them and focus on people. But that's been my ongoing complaint since AEW's really began. So
somebody they did focus on was Will Ospreay.
Yes.
Ospreay cut a good promo about how he's going to win the Owen Hart tournament so he can go after the world title. I like this idea that he's waking up and finally realizing he needs to be the guy here. Yep. And yeah, let him win the tournament. I don't care. Let him win the Owen. But then it's like, but the problem is now all of a sudden everybody's like heating up to go after the championship when we don't need it, because you're clearly going to Swerve and Moxley or Cope, but Swerve and Moxley at the pay-per-view. And then you have that all-in stadium show where it's most likely going to be Swerve against someone. Swerve and Ospreay, while a fun match, babyface, that crowd's not going to know what to do.
Right.
You need to give them someone to cheer. You need to give them someone to boo so that they can be over the top electrified.
Mm-hmm.
The other option is you keep the title on Moxley until you get to that pay-per-view. And my God, no.
Yeah.
Could you imagine more months of him walking around with that briefcase and then seeing a Dynamite headline by Ospreay versus Wheeler Yuta where they go 28 minutes?
No thanks.
But fear not,
that.
Dynamite had a blockbuster main event. I mean, I can't believe they gave this away for free. Orange Cassidy versus Hechicero.
Good job. I struggle with that, as you'd imagine.
Hechicero, the also known as not Beast Mortos.
The Mad Scientist? Is that what they called him? I think that's what they called him.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I just can't imagine who was like, it's late. I can't miss this main event though. I wonder who's going to win. It's like a rib on Orange Cassidy. They keep.
I think it was a rib on JR. They put him on the commentary for that too.
Well, that's just fun. That any opportunity to make Jim Ross have to go out there and work is always hilarious. But yeah, Dynamite felt like it had no stakes whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Disappointed by that, but something I'm not disappointed by was this week's episode of Working Stiff. Scott Shapper and I recorded. That'll be up right after this show today. You can go listen to that. We had a lot of fun talking a little bit of the Raw and MSG, a little bit of the Dynamite, a little bit of just the world in general, and Scott's dining habits while on the road as a stand-up comedian.
Mm.
So that'll be fun. Also fun, our man Rob Van Dam.
Yes, tonight, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me and RVD for a live discussion. We're going to be talking about scam artists overall, I think.
Fonzie's going to be on?
Huh?
Fonzie's going to be on? I'm kidding.
We are going to be talking about, it's stemming off of, obviously, the Bobby Fulton situation that we've been talking about week in, week out. But there's that Stan Lee documentary that we were just chatting in the group chat about.
So what's funny is, backstage at BRCW, this past Sunday, which, by the way, BRCW Challenge accepted, is streaming now on YouTube. You can go watch the whole show. Bobby Fulton, working for Bobby Fulton, was very much a topic of conversation in the locker room with some of those folks.
Oh yeah, ooh.
Not gonna name names, but people had some strong opinions on that situation right there. So that's a lot of fun.
Yes. So check it out tonight. We'll go live 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on rvdtv.com. You can ask some questions, get interactive, have some fun. And tomorrow, me, Magnum TA, Greg Gagne, going live 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on FullHorsemanNetwork.com. Covering all that stuff that happened from Raw and Madison Square Garden to all the situations going on in wrestling. So be sure to check that out tomorrow. Hey, good to have you back, Robert. Good to be back in the thick of the action.
Nice to be back, and I will be back here tomorrow with Mr. Dominic D'Angelo at noon Eastern across a plethora of platforms, including the WWE Creative_ISH X account, the @Dominic D'Angelo X account, the @SE Scoops X account. And if you're not an X person and you just want to watch us on YouTube, you can catch us on a number of channels there, including on the Ad-Free Shows Network, Rumor and Innuendo, and Working Stiff's YouTube channels. And if you want to hear us in audio form, we're available on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever the hell you get your podcasts. So on behalf of the Mango himself, Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Where's Peepers at? Peepers.